And I call this meeting to order. So the first item on the agenda is, and everybody is present, so the minutes will reflect that everyone is present. Approval of minutes from the last meeting. Did everybody get I sent all those out? They were draft form.
Yes.
And did everyone have a chance to review? I think I sent them out. People had no comments. Okay. So do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting?
Which was,
I'm trying to remember that. Thank you.
I'm just.
That was August.
Something.
August, I don't have them with me.
What happened on the second
It was the same day as the plan. When was our last planning board meeting, Michael?
The 12th.
August 12th?
No.
Oh, August, September 12th was
September
the last meeting, but the one in August?
No, it was one at the end. It was August 27th or something.
22nd would have been.
Okay, so August 22nd.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from the August 22nd meeting?
I will move to approve the minutes of August 22nd meeting of the Affordable Housing Trust.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
And roll call vote. Gina? Here? No, you're supposed to say yes or no.
Yes.
Is
that what we do?
Brian?
Yes.
Jeannie?
I'm gonna say aye.
Yes. So you say aye, you say aye, and Maureen? And Catherine goes aye, so it is unanimous. Okay. Next, the most important thing, vote on Affordable Housing Trust clerk. We.
Gina, you done.
If you will see from the last set of minutes, they're really simple. The board had a discussion on, and because there'll be attachments like the treasurer's report will be attached. It's not going to be necessary to keep details. And I see you're typing it anyway.
I'm gonna show you what it's gonna look like if I do it. If I'm here,
It's better than me. If you're there, then.
if I'm here, what's gonna happen?
Yeah, well, because we're looking for a staff person. The staff person, you just don't have the title.
I'm driving.
Yes.
Well,
Well,
if we're recording it, I can just print out the transcript.
no, that's what people do sometimes.
Yeah.
If there's nobody there. But, so do I have a volunteer, Gina?
All right, am I the only one who could volunteer here? All right, I took my ethics training, so I will not stronghold you right with my spooky. Okay, but I will volunteer.
Okay, quick. Do I hear emotions?
You hear a motion,
Okay.
second, whatever you do, want me to
So
say.
you're second. Okay, so,
Sorry.
okay, so all in favor, Gina?
Yeah, okay.
Two. Jeannie?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous. Yay.
Gina wins.
Okay.
I've got to see y'all.
Okay, treasurer's report and financial update. I do have copies of it that Mike, I think Mike made up. I have to find them though.
I think everyone has a copy, but I sent some more.
Did I leave your copies up there in the time you gave me?
Do you need one? There's one right here.
This one, should people have them?
Gina is one.
He mailed them all out. Do you want to go through?
Thank you so much.
So, want to make sure that we all understand, it took a while for us, and it still is, this is a work in progress. So it does not, I'm not saying this, everything is known. So if you know something through your own involvement, you pass down meetings, please share that information. We continue, we'll tighten this document up. And what we're trying to do here is understand what are the assets of the Affordable Housing Trust and get a clean and solid base before we move forward. Also understand the primary source of the community preservation funds. And that is most likely a primary source of funds for this trust. We'll go through that. And then we'll review how in the past, and actually only one transfer that I'm aware of has taken place from the CPC to the Affordable Housing Trust and how that took place. and the mechanism that took place. And we'll just briefly discuss that because we would like to have a change to that mechanism, not use that in the future. And we'll talk about why. And then, and that's it. That's the purpose of what we want to cover here. So if you look at the balance sheet, what we have in cash is $21,651 in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And that is the residual of the initial $200,000 that was transferred in, I think it's 2014. And with that, we purchased, you see below, 28 Hartford Ave North, this one. And that is, we bought that from the town, and the town had taken that in 2013 from a tax staking. So there's no, we may have liabilities, Joe. I don't think we have any liabilities, right? That's why I didn't put any in here.
No.
So it looks like we just have assets. So we have a small balance of $21,651 that we believe is the current state. There is an open question right now where Ken Costa, and this is part of us learning the CPC structure and how he's created those accounts, particularly project accounts. And he had said that we have an account of 7,000, it's called housing, no, it's called housing planning, I think it was called, and it had a balance of $7,518. So we believe that well, it's been stated that we agreed to pay 50% of the housing production plan, which is about that $7,500. So if that's the case, and it's going to come out of our $21,000, then we'll roughly have about 14,000. So there's still an open question, or is there a separate account and still in CPC under the special project accounts of $7,500? So it's in between 14,000 and 21,000, I believe our current balance is at this point in time. Any questions on that?
Well, actually, yeah, I have a question. How can we find out whether we owe it or not? When are we going to find
Well,
out?
we know we owe it, and but the invoice hasn't been received. I think like Lee said yesterday.
Yeah.
But so I put a question out to Kenny Costa yesterday. It was late, and he had gotten back to me, trying to understand that project accounting. Is it in that listing of accounts and it did not get transferred to us?
Okay.
Or was the agreement based on it's coming out of the existing balances of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which in some ways I don't think is, because that was very reserved on how we're supposed to spend the initial $200,000. So if anyone else has any thoughts on that, please share them.
Yeah, I'll follow up with CMRPC about that, because obviously I believe they would be the ones billing us for the 7,000 and change to understand where we are with that.
And that was for a plan?
That was
The house production plan. So recently.
How long ago was that? That was just
Just-
finished up.
Like a month
We
ago.
just finished, that was a housing production plan that.
Oh, the housing
Just had
production.
Yeah, just.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have a question. Would it be possible, let's throw out another option, if that is money, if the, Affordable Housing Trust paid the full nut to CMRPC of 15,000, and we are owed the remainder by the town. So that could be an asset instead of a liability, because if we still owe it to CMRPC, why is it showing up as a sort of a separate number? I think that's sort of us, we just need, you need to talk to, need an answer, Kenny.
Yeah, and I think also to understand, because the 7,500 amount came from some information that Kenny provided to us.
Yeah.
And he clearly called out, that was one account.
Yeah.
And then he clearly called out the Affordable Housing Trust.
Yeah.
Like side by side.
Yeah.
So that's why I think there are two
Yeah.
distinct accounts.
Okay. But one may be zeroed out if we are responsible for that.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So it's not big money. It's not big money to start with the 21,000. It's not big money of what we owe.
Yeah.
So as that gets clarified, and hopefully soon, I'll be able to share that. Committee here. The other thing I want to call out is note A, is that the Community Preservation Fund, and actually probably better if we go to, well, hold on for a minute. I'm gonna skip note A. The next slide would be better for us to talk about that, the structure and how those accounts are set up. But note B, just so the committee's aware, is that in August 2015, in the annual report, but in the annual report, there's a note here. It says that the Affordable Housing Trustee requested the Board of Selectmen to donate land at Orchard Street for use in an affordable housing project. There's no record of that transfer taking place, nor is there, sounds like any other understanding what that is. So Michael is going to take a look at that.
Was that an article at town meeting?
It was in the annual town report that
So it had to.
quote came from.
Yeah, it said the selectmen approved it. It said that what the annual meeting said was that this was the first thing, even before Hartford Ave came up,
Right.
is that the Affordable Housing Trust had requested the selectmen, and the selectmen approved.
The
transfer.
then had to go to town
But
meeting.
we haven't found a record of it ever going to town meeting, so I don't know if the selectmen's approval ever, and that's what Michael was checking.
Well, it's good check to see who currently owns it. I think it says the selectmen.
Yeah, I think it's the town that owns it.
Yeah.
Because that was part of the Stephens property, that was one of the frontage lots. We also don't know the address. But I'm assuming since it was a transfer of property, it's town owned. Yes, it's
So that's actually, it's a potentially a significant asset for us.
Did it say how large the lot was?
It's 2 acres only.
Is it 2 acres? It's agriculture. It's 2
Yeah,
acres.
I think it's 2 acres only.
So a lot to learn on that.
Mhm.
Awesome. Any questions before we go on? Let's go on to the next page. And this is the structure. Kenny, Joe, and Michael are very helpful in helping me understand this. So as you all know, there is a CPA surcharge in town. And so the town collects those funds, 3% onto our tax bills. There's a state match. Sometimes it's not 100%, but it's some months, some years, it's very significant. And then that also comes in here. By the law, 10% of that collects that revenue each year has to be reserved for community housing. And you see this in the second row of accounts, open space and recreation, and historic resources. So since, I forget how long this has been going on.
2014.
I think.
Or
it's
2003.
that.
It was
It's
2003.
early.
It's been a while. So
Upton was one of the
Yeah.
first ones.
So that 10% over all those years for community housing is now at $882,000 as of June 30th. There was that one transfer that we're going to talk about in a minute of $200,000 that came from that reserve account. So that's, to my knowledge and understanding, that's the only time money has been transferred. So there is, and this is CPC's funding, it's their responsibility, and they own it, but they control that. Sure.
CPC,
Mhm.
again, can you remind me?
Community Preservation Committee.
Which is an Upton committee.
Yes,
And then how come they would be, like they would do this, right? Why is this, something that we're having to grow?
I think that, but the only probe is that I think is probably on my part, I'll be up front with that, is talking to the right people and getting that nailed down. So I think the only open question here is there's no question about the balance of 882. Kenny tracks that, if that's the town account.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
And so, but then the project accounts are what we need to get a little more understanding of. Kenny had said there's 2 active projects. One, I'm only aware of, and I'll follow up on that, is the 28 Hartford Avenue. That's a little bit. So it might be one other open account.
Which is probably the 7,800.
It could
Yeah,
be, but I
yeah.
couldn't find that in the list of open accounts.
Yeah.
The other important to note is that the balance in the main account of $776,000 is available for any one of those three uses that you see down below. So the 10% has to be used for one of those designated uses, but the remaining 70% can be used on any one of those projects.
The undesignated.
Any questions on that?
Just another comment on that, and one of the little idiosyncrasies of that is the money that's dedicated to affordable housing is not dedicated to the Affordable Housing Trust. It's dedicated for affordable housing, so if you are Joe Smith Development Company, you can go in and ask CPC for money to offset the cost of doing an affordable housing project. So it doesn't automatically go to us. And in order to access that money, we have to go before the CPC, and they're a good group of people. They've had a lot of turnover in the last couple of years. They always were a good group of people, but they're very, as they should be, they're good stewards of the money, and they want to make sure that it's being spent appropriately. So I just think it's important for folks to know this is not an automatic to us. Doesn't mean that we have $882,000 sitting there waiting for us to say,
Right.
it's time for us to take it now.
And to follow up with Kathy's, thanks for calling out, but is CPC, you have to make a presentation to them. If they say yes, they just have one more step, and then you have to go to the town meeting for that transfer.
The open space and rec is another committee, and the historic is another committee.
No, this is all managed by the CPC,
Yeah,
all of this.
like we're this committee, right?
Well, there would be, so as Kathy pointed out, anyone could ask for,
for any of these
And
under,
it's
under the.
most likely, because the community housing affordable trust most likely is going to be the one that asks for it. Open space and rec could be the town recreation committee, is primarily the ones going in there. The town hall has benefited, the reconstruction and design has benefited greatly. Historic resources.
Reach all is getting money from it now.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
So this might sound a bit dumb, but you said the community housing balance is pretty huge. Is money that can be accessed from by a developer who wants to, who's proposing to build affordable housing, and they want some money to offset whatever it is they want to offset with it, whatever. Is that correct?
I think theoretically that is correct, but most likely what would happen, what has happened in other affordable trusts that have a history and a pattern of how to work together, is that on an annual basis, oftentimes there's a request for that money. It goes to the affordable trust. And then the affordable trust has been working with developers or parcels of land and looking at their priorities and saying, okay, this is an opportunity. It's not a great piece of land, or it may have some challenges. We can maybe sweeten the deal by doing some site work. And I'm just making this up. And then that's how it mostly would be done versus the developer going directly to the CPC.
Right, okay.
The thing in Upton, I think, is, as you know, the Affordable Housing Trust has been rather dysfunctional. And so I think we have to build some credibility with them before they do the audit, and hopefully we'll be able to do that. And then maybe we can set something next year or the year after in place where it is automatically transferred to us. But, right now, there's been no accountability, there's been no records, there's been no.
So what the CPC is saying, we have to, with the CPC, we have to do.
We
And the town goes to town meeting.
Yeah.
So in theory,
So with the finance.
the project that Kevin Lovaser is going to build.
Yeah.
Is a project that we could work in conjunction with him if there were, no, we can't. Okay,
Not that type of project.
no. So what
So-
type of project?
So for example, say we published an RFP, and I'm only doing this because this is a total extreme example. We decide that Racine building is surplus and we want to develop it for affordable housing.
It's not an extreme example.
Yeah, but no, it's not. I agree with that.
But it's a readily imagination, and it's a
Yeah.
visually you can sort of envision. So we identify it as surplus, we put out an RFP and we say, look, we're looking to offer this property up for affordable housing developer to then do 16 units. They pull together their performance, saying, look, we can almost make it work, but we need X, Y, and Z. Either we need cash to defray the cost, or we need a reduction in water connection fees or other sorts of ways, that's then what we could use that, the affordable housing pot of money to sort of pay down some of those
Or
costs.
professional services, right? Like a
Right.
wetland survey. or
Exactly.
engineering or
Exactly.
structural.
So we're just not handing over a check. We sometimes try to identify what are some things that, like, we could waive those connection fees, which can be like $30,000 each connection for a unit
Right.
to reduce down the total cost and cover other things that the developer would be responsible for.
So
But just a 40B, we wouldn't be able to do that. You could buy down, if you had a traditional subdivision development, you could approach that developer and say, hey, we'd like to buy down 2 units within a traditional subdivision to make those affordable. Seen lots of examples of that. But typically within 40B, they're already getting the subsidy through mass housing or some sort of other entity
Yeah.
that then is sort of negating that.
Okay,
And also, Upton has the money, so he doesn't need it.
I know that's not necessarily the point, is it?
So,
Well, it may be to you, but
okay.
you don't.
I just
Sorry,
have
Brian.
I have a side question, which is probably inappropriate for right now, but the open space thing here, that wouldn't include like options for sidewalks.
Huh? No, that would be, heavy infrastructure. That's not included in CPC. Open space is, most of the conservation land is provided, Upton is provided in CPC. And it's sort of a thing. for recreation.
And field, playing field development.
Yeah.
So that's 21 there too.
Okay.
All right. So going on to last page. As mentioned on the previous slides, there was that one transfer of $200,000. It was done as a grant. Grantees were the Affordable Housing Trust members, trustees. It originally went to the floor as the warrant was to transfer $200,000 from the CPC Reserve Fund for Community Housing to the Affordable Housing Trust. I wasn't there, or if it was, I don't remember it. You can see on the proceeds, they're not proceeds, but the actual article got passed was to approve it, but then to create an agreement that could be used for future grants too. So it's very significantly different than just saying, we're moving this fund to the Affordable Housing Trust for your purposes of developing affordable housing. Very general, very specific. It's very specific, affordable housing, but it's not defined as to what project or anything like that. You have flexibility to do what the trustees feels is best for the town. So that is something that, and then there was a grant agreement written that it was linked, that link, if you ever want to see it, you go there. It's, in my view, very ties your hands, and also too, puts liability, tremendous amount of liability onto the trustees. So we don't want to ever do this again, in my opinion. And I personally would not do it. And so the next time we do a request, that's why we have to figure out how to do this. And Joe has a lot of experience with the towns, and it's pretty straightforward, like I mentioned, just transfer over. But that, I think, is part of the education we have to do with some other boards, the CPC being one, the finance committee being the other, and other key stakeholders. So they understand, yeah, that's reasonable. Because I don't know what happened when they did this back in 2014, but someone felt, or many people felt concerned about it and put this very restrictive and controlling grant agreement in place.
So it was also very onerous in terms of the responsibilities of doing reports and like every 6 months or something and doing, it was a really bad agreement.
What came of it?
We think it, we don't know because, I mean, basically, this is what I mean, a dysfunctional committee. There was no record of executed contract anywhere. And we think it may have been in one of the members' houses, because record keeping was different then, and they're no longer there's no one here that was there in 2014.
Where did the money go though?
Well,
So-
the money's accounted for.
We had seen that this was it was reviewed by the board of selectmen, and the 2 members of the trustees, Amanda Graham, who was one of those. And then they said, okay, we agree with this, send it on to the CPC. I think that was the last step we saw. And
Oh,
we didn't
yeah.
find the executable
Right.
agreement.
We didn't find what town meeting.
Yeah.
So, but the money, you know, again, that's the 200,000, that was the 150 that was spent to buy the land from the town. Then there was another, I think, 11,000 paid taxes. You know, I mean, title of transfer charges and all that fun stuff. And then there's the residual of it. So the money's accounted for. It's just
Okay.
we don't know what terms we agreed to. And even if we did, we wouldn't do those again. So,
If you put, so this house has been sitting rotting for 9 years.
oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Brian went up and sent me pictures. That was date night for him and his wife. He went up and took pictures of it.
I mean, what was the point?
Halloween night, they're having a fundraiser, right? You having it there?
No, it was Sunday Sunday morning, get your running shoes on, please.
Okay.
I need
Oh,
runners.
are we?
Well, no, we're paying
I
property
don't
tax.
think we're playing.
We're paying property taxes on this place.
No, we don't pay taxes, but we pay insurance, which is quite hefty.
And insurance,
But that's private. It doesn't come under the town insurance.
It doesn't, we pay affordable housing, which is a liability.
Bonkers.
Affordable housing trust.
Why did you go private?
What?
Oh, why
Oh,
did
you
you?
know.
Don't look at me. Don't look at anyone.
That is absolutely.
I'm still trying to find out the exact policy, all that information.
And
since
you
we
can't,
can.
it's nowhere to be found, right?
I can't find it.
Yes.
I have the renewal notice, but I don't have any information on the policy, what exactly the terms are, all the conditions. So
Couldn't it
yeah.
couldn't it be under the town's insurance with the rest of the properties that it owns?
It's an outside, my understanding is that it's an outside company because it wasn't something that Cabot and Maya was gonna do, so they had to go outside of our traditional insurance sort of policy to then provide insurance on this. And that's why it's just a separate invoice.
Yeah, how much money?
It's $1,200. I mean,
That's
in the
fine.
grand,
I think it's
Oh,
4 or
I thought-
5,000.
yeah,
I thought,
It's
okay,
pretty hefty.
on that.
okay,
Yeah,
And it's just liability.
Yeah,
yeah. And I
but I
think,
mean, we carry the liability insurance, so
Yeah.
we should be able to carry it under.
and, you know, again, the trust pays for it.
exactly why compared to that building,
Yeah,
I don't know. That's still digging for that.
And is there any reason why we haven't unloaded this property in 9 years?
Pandemic.
Well, it wasn't 9 years. It's
So
3 years.
they had I think an RFP, and again, this, I just want to stress that this predates Mike, it predates Joe, it predates all of us.
It's just
But
like
it appears, and they've been doing yeoman's work trying to dig up some of the dark history of this. But basically, an RFP was issued. And Habitat for Humanity was the only responder.
You're saying.
And that was, I think, in 2019.
So it's-
And then the pandemic hit.
But that was 5 years after we purchased it.
Well, it was, the town got it tax title in 2013. We bought it, I think we closed on 2018. It
I
was
think it was January 2018.
15. Yeah.
2018.
I think, yeah, it was 2018.
didn't
we
have a
closed
very
on it.
long.
Well, we closed on, the town sat on it for a while.
Oh,
The
okay.
town sat on it for about 5 years. And it really is, I can't say it's a public meeting, but it is a very dilapidated,
Yeah.
meeting, you know, and it's right on Hartford Ave. It's got, there's a street called Cape Road. If you go up, it's right at the driveway's right after Cape Road. He had to give me
Yeah,
details.
you have to look for it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it's all
Yes.
over.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
So,
neighbors must love it.
but
Yeah.
Joe, but Michael did reach out to, this 0.63 acres, I think, or 6.8 acres.
Yeah.
And Mike reached out to Habitat for Humanity, and they are interested in setting up a meeting.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we've also talked about reaching out to other developers, including Lovacer, including, you know, Gene Burnett, who might know some developers. He's not a developer, to talk about, you know, maybe doing a workshop or something, but looking at ways to,
Habitat would be a great
Yeah.
partner, actually.
well, I was gonna talk to you, we're gonna talk about that.
I guess-
But anyways, do we want to finish up treasurer's report, and then we can talk about the RFP?
Yep. So the only, and maybe this is for later, but Joe, is it appropriate to talk about now, because the town meeting warrant is coming up, I think it was $100,000 you mentioned, for the language of that transfer.
That's next on the, this is the
Oh,
agenda.
Okay. It's not appropriate right now.
So,
Can I just say something again? So I want to say thank you to Brian for doing such an amazing job.
Very good.
There are many
Fantastic.
people on this table that contribute in, any costs are, so thank you all.
It's great.
Thank you.
Jeannie, what's your last name?
Brooks.
Bruce?
Brooks, BR, like streams and rivulets. and-
Babylon. Very good.
So anyways, town meeting, warrant. Joe, probably about a couple weeks ago, because the town meeting warrant closes in September, early September,
September 8th.
put in two placeholder, items for the Pension Trust. And I had the language, because I was very tired, I didn't, make copies to send them to people. But the first one is, and don't gasp because it's already changed a little bit. This is placeholder language. You have to get the language in and then you can change it. To see if the town will vote to transfer $867,000 to $191, whatever, and 75 cents. 865,291.75 from, and I'll give these to you, Gina, so you can,
Where is this?
these are the placeholder. Actually, we'll just do this as an attachment. With such funds to be, okay, from the CPA Affordable Housing Reserve Account to the Upton Affordable Housing Trust, with such funds to be used in accordance with CPA guidelines for community housing, or to take any other action there too. And the second article, placeholder article, was to see if the town will vote to appropriate 15,000 from the Community Preservation Community Housing Fund for the purchase of creating an affordable housing trust action plan, including all expenses that were related, or to take any other action related thereto. So there are two items where we are requesting a town meeting to approve these. I do believe, and I did not know this, but I think you already went to the CPC with the 8,007.
800.
$867,291.75. And they
Yes.
did not have an applicant to transfer the whole amount.
No, they want to talk about it again next Wednesday before going for a formal public hearing to be heard just before town meeting on it.
Yeah, there is people that haven't done town meetings, it is a huge process and it's a lengthy process. But what we sort of have determined, and I wanted to run this by this board, is that the CPC is the first hurdle, then you have to go to the finance committee. And the finance committee are strong stewards of public funds. And so they like to see how money is being spent. And so if we ask for in my opinion, if we ask for a random, I'm going to say this until I can say it correctly, $867,291.75. It won't even get a recommendation of the finance committee.
Yep.
So we need to be able to say what we need to do things in the foreseeable future. And so what we're thinking is, if we talked about doing it, you guys were playing with a little bit of language, but $100,000 to do, housing, and I, maybe you guys can help draft some language, but to do, engineering, architectural, this type of, work to further affordable housing, development, affordable
Would
housing.
you do that first before you get an action plan? I think you'd have a better,
Well, we're gonna do two separate items. One is because we
need an action plan to take the money, 100,000, if you want to do. I
What's
mean,
the
you could
process?
say in
well,
the.
with the 85,000, I mean, if we get 100,000, there are a number of things we can do. One is we can do, if we need to spend more money on Hartford by doing necessary, like environmental or engineering, we'll have the money to do it. If we, there's been talk about looking at land behind the Dunkin' Donuts Coach Roads. That's under the conservation controls it, but they've expressed a willingness to do a trade so they can buy some land up in North Street.
They wouldn't have to.
To transfer it to make that developable, because it's really landlocked, it's not much use. And they'd only be looking at a portion of it, so we could do some, basic, take a look at it, have someone go in. So that'll allow us to do that type of stuff before the next town meeting, which is. So I think my recommendation would be to have these parallel. Let's get the money to do You know, and there's another project that, you know, I want to talk to folks about, but that'll give us the money, you know, to, you know, if we need it and if we can justify it, to move forward doing some of this exploratory work on different projects and to fill some of the gaps. So
Are
there,
you gonna have projects put together before we get to town meeting or before you go to finance committee or?
You have a PowerPoint presentation.
I
Project overview,
Right.
you wanna have your, yeah, you wanna have. your
Something, you got to have some kind of project to have.
yes, is that,
That's what I
No.
thought the action plan. was.
no, because the $200,000 that we got,
That was for 68, that was.
that was not for Hartford Ave.
How did you pay for half of that?
No, that was ended up being used.
What do we wanna do with Hartford?
Well,
Yes, that's
okay, that's RFP, that comes next. When the 200, when the Affordable Housing Trust first requested the $200,000, it was to allow it to make quick decisions. And then one of the quick decisions it made 4 years later was to buy the Hartford Avenue property. There was no connection between the town meeting action. I think since we're asking for a lesser amount, and if we itemize the things that will be spent for, it, I think we'll be able to get it by the finance committee and get it through town meeting. I don't think they're gonna wanna see,
But I think you actually have to have projects for $100,000.
Yeah.
But I think that.
See, and I just, that is why I think there was such stringent language going to town meeting.
I, from reading it and then just reading other things, there's a mention of specific projects.
Right.
And I think that's something we want to change and make sure that we all agree it's affordable housing. And
Yes.
try to get people around that affordable housing. We don't know what that is. This committee with these assets, now we're starting to develop plans to be able to execute that, put affordable housing in place. To go to the CPC, I think with, we're going to do this, it's just very time consuming and we don't control those funds, so we can't work with any developer.
Yeah,
So
so
that they're in our,
if you wanna have a house
then
built,
we,
though.
then we can have those decisions.
If you wanna have a house built, you're gonna have a designer come in. and
oh,
build
we're not gonna build, we're not.
I don't mean that, I'm saying as an
Just
example.
an
Can I defer to Joe because Joe has a better understanding of how this works?
So this is all politics.
Yeah.
This is what is going to be accepted by town meeting, because in some communities just saying, we want to transfer $100,000 from CPC to Affordable Housing Trust to allow us to do necessary engineering, appraisals, engage environmental engineers, should be it. You shouldn't have to say, we're going to use it at this property and this property and this property. However, there's a political reality that is also in Upton where they want to know exactly how you use it. And you can sort of say, well, we may want to engage an engineer here. We may need to do an environmental assessment of the Hartford Ave property. We may need to do this. And you can estimate and get, maybe it's 80,000. But then you are sort of getting that focus in that if something else popped up on the side, someone could say, it isn't gonna work. So one of the things is by having the action plan, that's gonna be easy, that's understandable, it's a one and done, that should be pretty simple. The second thing is really a political debate that the Affordable Housing Trust could have with those boards saying, look, we know this is an ask that you've not been presented before. Before was very project-based, but we're just looking for seed. We need some sort of flexibility and we think we can walk and chew gum at the same time. If you want to wait, then it's their vote to support it or not, and maybe they support it. All of you around the table have a better probably idea as far as successful rate. I mean, at least we're only dealing with 50% of town meeting, but I sort of point to all of you to say, what really would be workable? Because we want to get people to the point of transferring to the Affordable Housing Trust without having a ball and chain around the
I
ankle.
think putting together an exploratory probe is doable. Yeah, you just have to have, this is what what I wanna do. I wanna look at this possibility, this possibility, this possibility. And you just have a decision tree. And this is the seed money, you know, without having to tether yourself to any particular
That's
project. But you do have to present it in a proper way. You
Right.
can't just say, give me the money,
Right,
you know?
and that is something that we
Yeah, we
do,
can do that, yeah.
but not to get into specifics about what projects we're looking at do it
Yeah, yeah,
because we don't know now.
I just got a co-op student at work for, I'm an exploratory scientist, so this is, I can do this, I can do this, under this umbrella. It's
Yeah.
all gonna be crystal.
That's what it's about.
If you want to do pre-permitting work on 2 properties, the 100,000's already gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
You could break that down and itemize it based on.
Yeah.
Previous, pre-permitting.
Yeah.
You know, stuff on other properties.
Yeah, and- yeah.
But, and also there's the reality of. This is the only funding source of the Affordable Housing Trust currently. We don't have an inclusionary zoning bylaw in place that's paying, in payment in lieu of fees that gets put directly into this trust or anything like that. That's probably where we're headed.
Yeah.
But we don't have it now, and it's certainly not gonna be cash cow as far as depositing money into this.
Would it be another year or another town meeting before money could be had again?
No, 6 months.
And.
Depending on how you wanna set it up.
We need to see it twice a year.
Yeah.
No, my impression is that politically it's doable, because I think there's an appetite in Upton right now to pursue affordable housing. And so I tend to think that if we're asking for a reasonable amount with parameters, it's not like we're gonna go out and do retreats in Haiti. You know, but it's going to be for, as you said, pre-permitting, pre-development assistance, or work to identify properties that, you know, I think that's something that will fly with both the CPC, and if we're only asking for, no more than $100,000.
Then we'll come back in 6 months and say, this is what we need.
And with all this,
Well,
this money is already.
yes, but thank you. Yeah, but we could, because what we could do, if something says this property is right, we could go back, and that's when we make the case that, okay, we did the pre-permitting work here. And, this is the next step. I don't see, my personal opinion, I don't see us being developers, it doesn't work. But this is the type of thing we can do, and I think if we do this successfully, and as you said, don't go back and ask for more money for the same project, then we're safe. And then we build a trust with the CPC that they can do an automatic transfer and the town. But I think we have to prove ourselves, and this is a good step. My concern about doing the plan, the action plan, and the other item sequentially is it took a year to get the housing production plan in play. And I just, if that takes time. And honestly, I don't think we have time. They just did they have a new, I think our deficit for affordable housing now is, I think we're only at 6% with the new census data, which as is puts us, short about.
It's like 107. Yeah.
Units. So I think that we really need to start moving aggressively,
Well,
or we're just.
1 minute, but isn't the Olympus project going to take a deep bite into that?
Yeah, but there'll still be about 60, if it goes forward, but there'll still be about 60 units left to do. It'll be a big
That'd
step,
be a big chunk out of
but
it.
someone else can come in and do another 60, and I don't think we want that to happen. So I think that there is an appetite to, I think if we're gonna build housing, we do it where we want, where it makes sense economic, we do it where we want, how we want. And, and by we, I mean the town. So I think, my suggestion is that we ask, when is the deadline to have the final language, Joe?
If you're talking, so there's 2 things. There's the board, until they execute the warrant, if we're changing the amount and you say, let's reduce that down to 100,000, we can do that now. Once it's executed, it can always be modified as long as it's in the scope of the article within the motion.
Okay.
So
When is the date to make the warrant?
I hope to, on October 3rd, that's when the board is going to be voting on the actual articles.
Okay.
So up or down, if out of this meeting, then you're gonna be discussing as far as, well, what dollar amount you'd like to see.
Yeah.
I'd recommend having it as part of that. Because again, it can always be revised as part of the motion after the one's executed. If you don't have the support of the CPC and FinCom in the next couple of weeks, then it's definitely gonna be a motion, because you're either fighting the political battle saying, well, let's just bring it to town meeting floor if they're not supportive of it, or maybe they say, well, we'll give you 50.
Yeah.
And then you just modify the motion.
Yeah.
No, to go get the warrant approved. Is it the Board of Selectmen?
Yes.
Okay, so CPC is not weighing in yet.
They do have to have a public hearing. The finance committee will provide recommendations. They will coordinate their own meeting
Mhm.
where then they vote to support or not support the article.
So they don't approve the warrant.
No, they don't approve it.
It's just, yeah. And the finance committee has been known to request a reduction, because again, you can always go back in 6 months if you need, or yeah, in May, if you need more. And so that's something that they've done. But I think that we do need to see money. I think it would be worth going for. And you said, Mike, that they're gonna hear this again next week.
So it'd be good to have a refined number.
Yeah. So are folks comfortable with the $100,000?
No, I'm very concerned about not having anything concrete to tell the town that we want to spend this money on. I mean, you've had a lot more experience with this stuff than I have. But in my 5 years at town meeting, my feeling is people don't, they're fights about anything to do with affordable housing or anything else. But if we don't have, if we can't say with more specificity what the money is going to be spent on, I think people are going to balk at it.
But that-
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, and judging from last town meeting, nothing got questioned, which was really weird.
You know, debate.
But in my opinion, we are not in a position to wait for town meetings to go to do a $7,000 contract to do an appraisal on,
I see your point.
You know,
Of course I do.
and so, and I think that we can make that argument. So I would like to move forward and see what the CPC thinks next week. And I will, if you tell me when that meeting is, Mike, I'd be more than happy to go and answer any questions. they might
Next
have.
week, it's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
Wednesday at 7.
Do you have to have it worked out by then?
This is like the pre-hearing discussion with them. So I had introduced the topic for the last month, I think it was. And so they wanted to have the discussion again,
Yeah.
once you all had a
Yeah.
chance to meet about it.
I think we could put together a short.
As long as you can identify.
I'm looking at right here, exclusion, there's exploratory housing, I'm looking, affordable housing exploratory committee. It's all over the internet, there's many of them, just take some bullets, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we want to explore this, we want to explore exclusionary incentive programs. I
Well,
would increase
that-
affordable housing, you know, there's different, all kinds of words.
Yeah, but that's something else. That's something that I think you already have.
No, it's just not really.
No,
It's just to.
Just to get the seed money.
Yeah, but we're looking for physical stuff. We're looking at having an appraiser go into a property.
No, it's not even.
Yeah, but then you become project specific.
Yes.
Well, no, but if you get $100,000, you can do a number of appraisals, number of like, again, Hartford Avenue, it's
Well,
gonna
that's
sit there.
just, I think what
Yeah.
you're saying is to identify those kinds of things.
This is what we want to do, we want to put together an exploratory committee to.
I mean, we already know
Control
about
the meeting.
like you know about the property behind Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, there's a,
Aren't those two examples you can use to say? Yeah, yeah,
So-
those are very concrete, specific.
I mean, we could say including but not limited to.
Yes.
X, Y,
You could
Z,
do that.
Q.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially because you never know, like we're gonna
Something
have
will change.
a property coming out of chapter that they want to offer the right of first refusal. Affordable Housing Trust may wanna
Yeah.
buy that. They may wanna do an appraisal. I'm saying even if something popped up before the next May's annual town meeting, you never know when something's gonna pop.
Yeah.
So we want that flexibility.
Kelly.
Yep, but also, think about land behind Dunkin' Donuts. Okay, we talked about part of the housing production plan swapping the properties. But you'd want to do a schematic layout to see, is there a fatal flaw? Like that can never be developed. I'd rather spend $3,000 up front, retaining an engineer to pull together sketches, look at something to then dismiss it. And that technically, we may be able to use that grant agreement of Hartford Ave. As long as we're doing it for physical housing construction, we still can use it even if it's not on Hartford. But it is so limited that we just don't want to corner ourselves. So I think we can create the argument for town meeting that
Yeah.
here are the type of things we want to be able to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all gonna be to support the action, because then, once you have a real project, then you're coming for real money.
Yeah, that's right.
But Joe, aren't most towns that have affordable housing trust that is standing up and running, it's a matter of course that this CPC transfer is pretty clean, straightforward and annual.
Yeah.
You're not.
Well,
looking at
some towns do
And I
that.
think that's where we want to get to and not have to continuously go back.
Right.
Because if there's a developer that irritated someone, next time meeting, no, we're not gonna say.
Oh, yeah, but-
Because we're asking for a special project. I think you need to have.
That might take a couple of years to build.
yeah, we need to build the credibility. I think if we do this year and then next year, then maybe we'll have the
But I would
credibility.
advise not for us to
Yeah.
get too specific
Yeah.
and be
Right.
very general,
Right.
but enough specificity, but them to be comfortable.
And for us to be responsible in how we expend it,
Yes.
report back to them.
Yeah, we would never be like, thank you. Because we want to be able to have, these are our assets, the trust assets, right? And we want to be able to make decisions and not continually go back to the CPC and the town meeting and,
Yeah.
And this would be a good start.
yeah.
And then the second item would be the $15,000 for the Affordable Housing Trust Action Plan, and that is based on real numbers from CMRPC.
And that'd be great to have, not
Yeah.
just us, which was certainly.
Yeah.
Did they do that in the other affordable housing?
No. And then the Housing Production Plan.
I know they did it in the housing production,
Yeah.
but what about the Affordable Housing Trust? Did they ever do an action plan?
You mean the one that existed before? I
I
don't,
haven't seen it.
I haven't seen
Nothing?
anything, yeah. Yeah, the minutes were pretty sketchy too.
What minutes there were? Just saying.
Yeah,
That was sketchy.
so anyways,
I just want to, well, Joe had sent Grafton's, what was the study like? There's a prior to,
it was the housing production, it was affordable.
wasn't the
housing
housing production,
It was affordable housing
Action plan.
action
Yeah.
plan is what he's talking about here.
and it included in one of the emails. And it was very good.
Yeah.
That's what we would like to have done.
Yeah.
And it laid out kind of some of the key stakeholders, their viewpoints, what is important. And then also too, then at the end, listed out like a 5-year plan. It was a 5-year plan.
Mhm.
So years 1 and 2, years 3 and 4, and
Right.
Just really quick, to close this conversation out, can we request we don't have staff yet, but we have Joe and Mike have been volunteering to help us out. Would it be okay for you guys to craft language to the effect that we talked about? And then, which basically for the first item is to see if the town will vote to transfer $100,000 from the CPA affordable housing. And again, I'll give this to you, not to take it down, Gina. A reserve account to the Upton Affordable Housing Trust with such funds to be used for pre-permitting activities such as XXX for properties, including but not limited to. And then if you listed a couple. I would prefer to leave that last part out, but it seems to be the will of the committee to do that. We could just,
So at least what I'd recommend is having the article sort of the broad, and then we have explanations, and then we can, within the explanation, say, this request is being made to do X, Y, and Z. Examples are blah, 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 so that we can have that as the rationale within the article that gets printed.
so our folks, because what I would like to do at this meeting, so we can get the language in, is for someone to make a motion that we approve,
Yeah.
as I said, $100,000 with the, not caveats, but with the detail discussed at the meeting, or do you want to have him just ask for $100,000, take his best shot at, we can ask for a change?
Well, I think Joe's press that there will be a separate explanation
Yeah.
that would list all the details,
Okay.
but not actually needed the article
Okay,
and the motion.
okay.
You want to make a motion now?
Yeah, so we can,
Just make a motion to add that.
A motion, for us to, for an exploratory program to affordable housing with a minimal cost of 100K and to be considered
100.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, for the next meeting they're having, next board meeting, right?
Well, for the next town meeting.
For the next town meeting.
Yeah.
I don't think, was it for exploratory housing or?
No, an exploratory probe into affordable housing.
Yeah, I think we were talking about maybe specific services potentially related to.
Okay, so specific services.
But we didn't want to,
We want to say,
you said,
he said,
covered it, yeah.
Yeah. It's someplace in the language in the transcript.
he said pre-permitting activities.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that sounds very nice.
Okay. So do you want to read that back and then we can make the motion, we can get set?
Okay, so I'll make a motion, for us to, put forth an ask of $100,000 for a, committee for specific pre-permitting activities to affordable housing.
Well, we were saying specific, well, we don't say just saying pre-permitting.
Pre-permitting, and as they said, they'll explain the rest of them.
We have to do this.
So to see if the town will vote to transfer $100,000 from the CPA Affordable Housing Reserve account to the Upton Affordable Housing Trust, with such funds to be used for pre-permitting activities. As, do we say as defined below, or just pre-permitting activities?
No,
Oh,
it's free.
okay. And then notes will be provided, say what we got.
I'll second. Maureen Winnell, aye.
Hey, I'm the chair.
That's roll call.
Roll call. So Gina goes first. Are you?
No, the person that seconds goes first.
Oh, really? Do that on the plane. Okay, the Maureen.
Maureen Winnell, aye.
Jeannie Brooks,
Aye.
for contentious, but Brian Gallagher.
Aye.
And Gina, I don't know what last name you're using today, so. So Gina,
I'm Jurassic, technically.
okay, so that's, okay, so that's the name.
That's my name.
So, okay. So, that carries unanimously. And Joe and Mike, can you get the language to us? Okay, thank you. And so the next item on the agenda is the discussion of the RFP, 28 Hartford Avenue North.
Are we okay with the 15K?
Oh, sorry.
Appreciate that.
Sorry. Yeah, do I hear okay, I will make a motion to see if the town will vote to appropriate 15,000 for the Community Preservation Community Housing Fund for the purpose of creating an affordable housing trust action plan, including all expenses incidental and related to, or to take any action related thereto.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Right, what,
That's separate.
is it appropriate or is it a transfer from the community housing accounts like CPC? Do we want them to?
It's a transfer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not, I didn't know if appropriate means.
Yeah, Joe, shouldn't that be transfer?
That's a transfer.
No, it should be a transfer.
Yeah, the vote's transfer. Thank you. Okay. So do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, according to Brian's here. You seconded, so aye. Gina?
Aye.
Kathy, aye.
Aye.
And Jean.
Aye.
Okay, 5-1, okay. Then we're gonna talk about discussion of the RFP. And I'm gonna start moving really quickly because of when you work on the meeting. So there was a RFP, that I think folks got, for a 28 Hartford Ave that was sent out, and again, there was one respondent. And so one of the, so I think the board has agreed that we want to get rid of that. So my question is, and I'm staring at Eugene, is it would be great if we could have someone work with, to refine that RFP and to, so we can get it out.
Right.
And
Update it, tweak it.
would you,
Sure.
okay.
Two minutes to work for.
So they have a meeting, Joe and Mike, set up a meeting, I think, did with Habitat for Humanity.
Okay, when is it?
We haven't,
We have to schedule it,
So-
but they expressed interest.
I just wanted to have this conversation first.
And apparently, Hank, I'm forgetting his last name, the guy at Habitat.
Yeah.
Apparently he's on the Westboro
Westboro, yeah.
Affordable
Yeah.
Housing Trust. So
Yeah. So he might be.
He can speak to this board about not only the supply side of things, but also his experience with trusts. So, yeah, I guess, I mean, if you,
I can send Jeannie,
whatever the next meeting date is, I can try to coordinate that. Otherwise,
Yeah.
we can try to meet with them or something.
well, I was thinking we could, Jeannie and you and maybe we could meet with him
Okay,
and to go over the RFP, to go over, and then we can reach out to a couple other people and we can bring that to the next meeting.
sure, okay.
And
And
have,
a couple of other people to whom.
well, there would have been outreach to, or there will be outreach to Gene Burnett, to see if he knows any developers who might, because it'd be good to understand what they want to see in a RFP. And then Kevin Lopez. Kevin Lopez, there's a third one I can think of that.
Who wants to see an RFP?
That we could see what they would be interested in. It's something they'd be interested in, sort of talk to them, get their insights.
You mean the people making the proposals?
Well, it doesn't hurt to get insights. It doesn't mean they're gonna make the proposals.
Well, if since Habitat made a proposal 5 years ago, and they're talking about another proposal, I assume they're very interested.
Yeah, they are, but that doesn't mean that we can exclude everyone else.
No.
But also,
They might be the only people.
one of the things to talk about too is on that site. I think the RFP called for the development of 2 units, and there was probably fit 4. It's a 6.3 acre site, and he did like a small 2-story sort of apartment complex.
How much of it's buildable?
We don't know.
0.63, I was gonna say, it's not 6.3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
0.63. No, we
Typically, they do not build apartments, they build single family homes.
Well, we were thinking doing I was sort of envisioning like a little building. Like a little building that like not a duplex. I think the original RFP called for duplex.
Yeah, I think you'll find Habitat don't build apartment types.
Yeah, Habitat, I believe that typically will build duplexes.
Yeah, they do not build
Yeah.
apartment type building.
Yeah. Well, that could be a problem with Habitat. And I don't know how their model fits in with us too, because they do sweat equity. And so I don't know if you do sweat equity, if you have a lot. So there's a lot of questions that have to be answered with,
Do we do, does it have to be by lottery?
I think doesn't affordable housing will have to be by lottery if it's subsidized.
For what part of it?
I mean, stuff that's gonna be on the subsidized housing inventory doesn't have to be sold by lottery.
For tenants and to be sold off?
If it's,
I believe so.
Yeah.
See, Habitat doesn't do
Actually,
tenants,
that's side of
they're
Yeah.
buying the property.
Yeah, right. So that's the thing, we've got to check them
So
out.
the question then becomes,
Yeah.
I know what their model is does that fit in with what we're trying to do?
That's gonna be one of the things you find out.
Good. Well, I think it's a shame to
But I think
turn them down because
I
there's.
think we're learning, but I think that is, it's affordable housing, so in my mind, it fits in. But we also have the ability to sell that land. If their model is they own it, we could sell the land to them. It just has one possibility.
Yeah, so I mean, basically what would happen is that you'd end up selling and the RFP has a PNS, we'd send it, but there would be conditions on the PNS and deed restrictions that it can only be sold for affordable housing purposes. They then become essentially the marketer and also the lottery agent for determining who owns it. We're just out of it, which makes it easier because we don't want to be the lottery agent.
Well, we take the money and run and do something else with it.
But we can't, or we can't.
But if they want to buy
We
that,
can't just sell, we can't exclude anyone else from the RFP. That's why it's good to get other insights from folks that might have a
This
sense.
might be jumping the gun, but do we have any idea what the property is worth?
No,
Only
that's
what-
something we can do with $100,000 we get. To do
Just
an
ask
appraisal.
just ask a realtor, they'll do an appraisal, won't they?
Um,
I should just ask a realtor to do an appraisal.
Not for, we have what the value would be under current conditions, which isn't exactly a lot, but we're sort of extrapolating and then for what the assessed value would be. But when it ends up being then deed restricted, there's additional coding for those units, so it doesn't escalate the same way or it doesn't reflect the same market conditions
Yeah.
like a market house.
Yeah.
And here, realistically, a duplex makes the most sense. 0.67 is not that large.
No.
And we are within a neighborhood as well. So people are probably gonna want some sort of.
But if you're doing that, I mean, it's just a dumb question. If you do houses, you're doing townhouses, they don't have to be, both don't have to be affordable.
No, they don't.
But
It'd be
then,
sure nice if they could both be.
I know, that's why I'm like, rent, that's something we can determine later, but let's just look at the RFP, figure out what we want to say in the RFP. And then we can talk about the next meeting, if that makes sense to folks.
Can I throw a side question again?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just curious. So like, I'm thinking about the historic preservation committee. Are there any rules that builders have to follow to make these structures look a certain way? So it would accent our town or,
I don't believe outside the historic district, I think in the historic district there are, but this is on Hartford Ave, it's a scrungy little Cape House and the,
oh, I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
so it's not in the historic district.
Okay.
So I don't think it's,
I mean, it's-
and Joe, you can, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, we don't have historic districts that control for that.
Okay, to make it look.
Well, the planning board did, we put in some restrictions. Well, we
That's all right.
did, we did, you would know about that.
Intersection.
Well, we did the downtown, we didn't put in the.
She was nicer.
Oh,
We put in the RFP how.
Okay, okay, I thought we had guidelines to what we could do downtown.
No, no, not design guidelines. We don't have, and, through, I'm not sure I'd recommend it through this scenario, because if you were talking about affordable housing, and that could have the potential for increasing costs and offsetting what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
But in other RFPs that the town would want to engage in disposing of property and redeveloping property, that's something you can work into an RFP for sure.
Yeah.
But then also it's something to consider for the planning board, whether or not, they want to explore implementing design guidelines.
Yeah. Which this all happened before me, but I think there was some opposition to doing that. So I don't think this takes a vote, but we're all fine with Jean taking the lead on that. And then we'll talk, hopefully have something that we can agree on at the next meeting and move forward with issuing. So we can get rid of it. Okay, we're not gonna be able to do the appraisal or in the preliminary work until after town meeting anyway, so, okay. So the next issue, just real quickly, is, and I will send this around to people, is staffing. I did reach out to Denise and Mike about job descriptions. And Denise, he's being clerk in the planning board. And so I'm gonna put something together for a job description, for somebody just to take minutes at meetings and to help with the administrative stuff. And, we'll work with the town in coming up with something, but I'd like to finalize that next meeting too. Because right now we're relying on Joe and Mike's goodwill, because it's all scrap.
Thank you very
It's a
much.
little bit more than just goodwill.
You would tell me or you?
So just two items not reasonably anticipated by chair. One of them was 61 East Street, I think. No, so it was a 61A on East Street.
Yeah, there's no
It was a
address.
parcel, and that's a little north of 2 acres. And that's gonna be coming up.
What exactly is it?
It's on the corner of East and Taft. It's,
oh, okay, to the
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, and so it is, the opinion of, Joe, he wants to refer to council that if, the way that this works is that you notify the town if if you land in 61A and you want to remove it from 61A. The town has 3 months, 90 days,
Which is,
and they know, but
no, which is 61A.
it's basically they get a tax relief because it's, I think, an agricultural.
It's an agriculture.
Yeah, or, in this case, it was recreation.
But it's also based on a valid purchase and sale.
Yeah, but the thing is, there is no valid purchase and sale. So the question of, is this even a valid,
Well, why is they rolling it out?
well, we don't know, but he's gonna have KP Law look at it. But that's something that may come up one of these days, and so we should start thinking, I'm of mixed feelings on it, because I think we need to get rid of Hartford Avenue before we start buying other property, or going to town meeting to buy other property, but
Yeah.
if you have a 2 acre lot, we're talking about stuff for seniors or handicapped or stuff like that, that might be nice, but I put it a little.
I can't understand why they're gonna roll it out of 61A and pay 100% of the taxes and not have valid purchase and sale.
Well, I think maybe, no. Excuse me. I'm allergic to this place, so, and every time here, it's not fun. So-
Maureen, my understanding is that it was gonna be purchased, when the A&R was done, it was gonna be purchased by the abutter to the south. They then backed out. And he still wants to carve it off and just sent a letter. It's 3 sentences saying, I'd like to sell this off and provide notice.
So he's gonna sell it on his own.
That's what he's saying. So, but usually when you have the PNS and you have that offer, that then starts the clock.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I don't think there's a clock that's starting. That's what I want to
Not if
check.
he
with
hasn't
town
got a
council.
valid
Right,
PNS.
exactly. So I'm of the opinion we can take sort of our time, figure out some of our own stuff. Even negotiate, hey, we could always have conversations as the trust to say, maybe we do want to buy it, but we don't have the clock starting.
Yeah.
That's what I want to check with town council.
Well, the other thing is too, if he's gonna sell it on his own,
He can't, but it's in 61.
he can roll it out and he can do whatever he
But
wants,
town
and he
has-
still has to offer it, but you have to have an appraisal on the
Right.
property and pay fair market value,
Right.
But the town still has the 90 days to
120.
120 for all. Oh, no, it used to be 90 for.
But he could have a developer come in and knock on $200,000 or $300,000 for the 2 acres. And the town, that would be the trend of the price the town would have to pay.
That's why it's.
But that's over 2 acres, and that's something we'd have to do something.
Well, that's agricultural and it's good land.
I know, it's good. So anyways, okay, and then the other thing, just really quick, is, as folks know, this is a 40B, proposal, for Main Street, it's 37 Main Street, 47 Main Street. And, there is a ZBA hearing on 18th of October. Because under 40B, there's really no role for other, town boards to play. It's the comprehensive permit is ZBA. And they did receive a letter from Mass Housing, saying that it appears to comply. So, so
How
that's
many units is that?
68.
68.
So that's in play.
And that little piece, where are you going?
It's behind Pickering, it opens.
I know, I was looking on the map tonight.
Yeah.
14,
What is it, about 6.8 acres?
6.8
Yeah,
acres.
yeah, it opens up out back. Yeah, I've actually, and it goes up to Whitney. So it goes behind, Pickering.
60 plus.
No, yeah, 68. Yeah, so, yeah, it's by the same developer that did 149. So that's, it's gonna be folks at the planning board meeting tonight, but again, there's really no votes for the board to take. And then the ZBA is where they're gonna be talking about this. And they'll be the ones working with the developer and issuing a comprehensive permit if it is so appropriate. And the problem with 40Bs is it's really hard. So. That's why we want to put a formula.
That will help. It's just a simple argument, one argument. Town meeting floor.
Well, the one thing about this property is if we, Upton has the housing production plan that is finalized and has been submitted to the state for approval. Once you have a approved housing production plan, and if you show serious progress to the deficit, you have what's called safe harbors, 2-year safe harbors.
Yes.
And this would give us 2 years safe harbors.
Not from this particular.
No, if this one went forward, it would give us 2 years from any other.
It might not go forward.
I just know what would happen to sell it. Unless it doesn't comply with.
It's already going forward.
Yeah, it's already going. forward.
Okay.
So the state said it was, the state did say you have to meet certain criteria, including.
How many affordable units will come out of that?
17, I think.
Yes.
Oh, no, well.
Because it's rental.
Yeah, all of them count as affordable, but only 17 have to be affordable.
25%.
Yeah. 25% have to be, but all of them, that's why apartments.
It'll be an interesting case.
Yeah. So anyway, so it's gonna be interesting, but basically when Mass Housing, approves the plan to move forward, you know, there are wetlands on the site. I mean, there may be issues that do.
Yeah, and I mean, it's conditions the state has put on it too, that he has to.
Yeah. Yes. So, hey, John. So is there anything else to discuss or are folks ready to adjourn? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay,
Uh,
all in favor, just all in.